Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. Today, we're breaking down whatever more bullshit is going on in this Brandon Aiyuk situation, and then we're also going to break down this McCarthy injury and a couple other quick things like the Tyrone Tracy injury and the quick update we have on Marquise Brown. We're keeping it short today. We are, I promise. Bach, do not get me fired up. We're not doing this. We're gonna do a nice quick show on these two stories. So go ahead, take out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right, good morning to you all. Mark, Semper, Bach, Scott, Ryan, Joseph, Jamie, thank you all so much for tuning in. And also, if you're listening on the podcast, thank you for listening as well. Make sure you check out the link in the description to find the Wake and Take podcast. You can listen to that wherever. Good morning to you, Terminal Sarcasm. It looks like the today's chat topic is putting mayo in the coffee like Will Levis. No, I do not put mayo in my coffee. I don't. Maybe we'll try it if Will Levis throws for 4,000 yards. Keep note of that. 4,000 yard Will Levis, we'll do it. But we are keeping a quick show today because your boy is actually going on Mind of Mansion in just a couple hours. So I just want to make sure I'm fully prepared. And we've got two big stories. So why not just focus on those two big stories? And then we'll get you guys out of here. So the first thing, of course, is this McCarthy injury. This was heartbreaking. You guys know I'm a Michigan fan. I like McCarthy a lot. I picked him fairly early in a lot of rookie drafts, because I think that he has all the tools to start very quickly and be really good, especially with the weapons on this Vikings offense, especially with Kevin O'Connell. Now, there's some cold water pulled on this, as he did tear his meniscus in the preseason action over the weekend. He is getting surgery on that. Now, what type of surgery is not out. We don't know that yet. I'm sure some information will probably come out today, maybe tomorrow, about what type of surgery he's getting. So there's actually two things or potential surgeries here. And the timeline for this injury varies wildly based on what type of surgery he gets. Before I get into it, I'm going to go ahead and say I think it's going to be the long-term surgery, just given his youth. But there is, we can be hopeful, because basically what can happen here is a full repair, a full meniscus repair, get his knee cleaned up, fix that bad boy, get it to where it needs to be. That would give him a 6 to 9 month window to fully recover from that surgery, which would basically probably end up sidelining him the entire season, unless they get into a situation where they really, really have to rush him back. Or they can do what's called a meniscus trim. The scientific term or the medical term there would be the meniscectomy, which essentially just trims down the meniscus, makes it still function, but doesn't necessarily fully repair it. The good thing about this surgery is it's relatively new, and it only has a 4 to 6 week recovery time frame. Which is obviously barely anything, and he'd be able to be out there pretty soon. Still would miss some time, but if that is the case, if they just do a trim, then nothing has really changed, to be completely honest. I mean, no matter what, McCarthy wasn't starting early this season. What we've kind of been expecting was, I believe they had a week 6 bye after an international game in week 5. So I felt that, maybe week 7 would probably be his full return, or like time to fully start. Give Sam Darnold his 5 games of being Sam Darnold. I'm sure he'll come out week 1 and look really good. Week 2, probably pretty good. And then he'll turn back into a pumpkin pretty quickly, as Sam Darnold does. So if he just gets the trim, I wouldn't really press the panic button at all for McCarthy. If he gets the repair, I still wouldn't really press the panic button. Now, if he is out all season, gets shut down for the whole year, you can move on from him, I guess, but I just wouldn't. This is still going to be the franchise quarterback for Minnesota when he returns, right? Like, you shouldn't really move on from this player at a low point. But if you are competing, you really want to win that championship, and you can offload him for, God, I mean, like, I don't want to sell low on anything. Like, I want exactly what the price should be for this player, right around quarterback 17, even post. Like, even if he is shut down for the season, like, I wouldn't accept any less than, like, Jared Goff for JJ McCarthy, to be completely honest with you. Now, I like this comment from Tyler. Like, if you want to pivot to another rookie quarterback, that could be something I maybe want to get a little bit more on board with. See if you can maybe get a cherry on top. Hey, think about this, right? Maybe you could trade JJ McCarthy for Michael Penix in a second, maybe Michael Penix in a first. That could be something nice, because then you're also getting a quarterback that's going to take some time before they can start, but still has some youth and everything. Now, of course, JJ McCarthy is like 4 years younger than Penix, even though they're both rookies. But still, those would kind of be the two moves. Like, if you could get a Jared Goff, maybe move on, or just stay within the rookie quarterback department. Maybe see if you can get an extra cherry on top. Maybe see if you could go from JJ McCarthy to Drake May. They're not too far apart. That could be interesting as well. But either way, I just don't want to totally panic. He's still very young. This is an injury that's fairly easy to come back from. This isn't an ACL, MCL. This is just a torn meniscus. So that, like, he's going to be back and he'll be fine, right? Like, it's not that big of a deal. It obviously sucks for this season. It's very, very disappointing. But as Ryan says here in the chat, he had one of the meniscus trims a couple years ago. This was the one that had the 4 to 6 week recovery timeline. And Ryan says that he was able to run 2 marathons after. Now, of course, that's awesome. Like, that's exactly what you want to hear, essentially. If you can just get out there and run some marathons after getting a surgery, that's exactly what you want to hear. I'm not a marathon runner. I mean, I would assume you need a little bit more agility on the football field than you do for marathons, like cutting and stuff. But still, like, obviously that demonstrates that this trim is a pretty successful surgery option. So, I mean, honestly, I don't know if I care if he gets a full repair or a trim in terms of what's best for JJ McCarthy. Like, I don't know, Ryan, maybe you can speak to this since you've had it, but does getting the trim really affect the long-term effectiveness of your knee, or is it also just a repair option? Like, I understand the speaking, like, okay, you could just give him the full repair, make him take the whole 6 to 9 months to recover because he's only 21 years old. But I mean, I feel like as an athlete, you could probably like just trim down that meniscus and just be fine, you know, and then that might also, I would assume if you're trimming down the meniscus, it would make it harder to re-injure it, but I'm not sure. I'm not a doctor. Either way, I would like to see him play football sooner rather than later, but I do, again, want to bring home the point. Don't panic. You know, don't go looking to sell JJ McCarthy. We could buy Sam Darnold. You know, if you're competing, you could go in and get him, but I assume the price got a little bit higher than it should be. And I would just wait to see what type of surgery happens, because if you imagine this, audience, you go trade for Sam Darnold, you give up a 2nd round pick in your super flex league, you get Sam Darnold, you're all excited. And then tomorrow it comes out that JJ McCarthy just got the meniscus trim, right? And then he's just out for 4 to 6 weeks, right? That would be painful. So I'm urging patience here. I'm urging patience. I'm urging staying calm. JJ McCarthy, as Tyler says in the chat, as we've all said now, looked incredible in the preseason, has looked good in camp, was awesome at Michigan. He's going to be good when he's out there. So just don't give up on him yet because of a meniscus injury, okay? Just hold on to your McCarthy. Don't panic. Don't sell. And wait to see what happens. Wait to see if it's a trim or a full repair. I mean, Semper Fi, sorry. He had the trim on his meniscus and ran and since has run 200 ultra marathons. That's a lot of ultra marathons. Congratulations to you in your health. That's incredible stuff right there. But anyway, JJ McCarthy, we'll go ahead and move on. Yes, he did look incredible. He threw an interception on his first drive. Okay, sure, whatever. That's what CJ Stroud did. And then what did he do? He came back out there at a really high completion percentage, threw 2 touchdown passes, and was literally like really great ball placement, zip, getting out of the pocket. He looked really good. I don't know. Maybe we watched different games though. I know he had an interception, but that doesn't mean really anything as a rookie, especially in your first preseason start, especially your first drive, right? But then to come back, show that pitcher's mentality, throw for 2 touchdowns, demonstrate everything that made you a good quarterback in college. That's exactly what you want to see. So anyway, that's the JJ McCarthy stuff. And if you can't tell, I'm kind of filibustering for the Brandon Aiyuk just in case anything breaks over this episode. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly run through the Tyrone Tracy and Marquise Brown updates before we speak Brandon Aiyuk, and then we're going to get you guys out of here. Tyrone Tracy, there was a huge scare. He ended up getting carted off the field on Tuesday, actually had to go into an air cast, and it seemed that, and I believe it was also non-contact, so it seemed that he might have had an ACL or something really, really bad where he was going to be out the whole season. But he went further imaging at the Hospital for Special Surgery for more comprehensive evaluation yesterday, and it came out that the injury was not as bad as initially feared, and it is currently being treated as an ankle sprain, and he's already back at team meeting. So hopefully it's not a severe ankle sprain, but it's best case scenario, it seems. As this injury came out, a lot of, Twitter was going crazy saying it was the end of the season. The Tyrone Tracy train is over. But it just being an ankle sprain and more than likely a low ankle sprain is fine. Now, it's not great. This is still a rookie who was drafted fairly late. That's, changing positions or recently has changed positions to running back from wide receiver in college. So he's learning this position sort of. And then also on transitioning from college to the NFL. And it's kind of a crowded backfield. So you want him to be able to get these reps. You want him to be able to get these snaps. You want him to be able to earn some time on the field. With an ankle sprain, we know he's probably going to be sidelined at least a couple weeks. Definitely not going to play any more preseason games. And it's going to be hard for him to get on the practice field. So this is just opening the door for the other running backs behind him to make some noise for themselves and try to crack the roster in his absence. Hopefully, Tyrone Tracy can get healthy and come back and play well. It looks like this was an injury on special teams, so it seems that he is the kick returner, which is good news. But go ahead and pick up that Dante Miller, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I'm saying. Get Dante Miller on your squad, guys. That's that undrafted free agent rookie that runs a 4.27 that has shown some really good catches that looked pretty good in the preseason as well. Dante Miller, speedster rookie running back, looking pretty good so far. Get him on your squad. Just because he's now going to have even more opportunity. I mean, kind of Tyrone Tracy was the exact type of running back that would hold back a Dante Miller, and he kind of was. Now he has an opportunity to do it without Tracy there. Definitely someone to keep your eye on, Dante Miller. And Marquise Brown. We talked about it yesterday. He has a sternovascular something. Let me get that. Sternoclavicular injury. That is a word. And he is expected to now miss 4 to 6 weeks. We didn't have a time frame on it yet. We knew that Tyreek Hill missed 4 games with it. Hollywood is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. That would put him on track to return on the long end, right? Miss week 1, come back week 2 is the short term. Long term would be coming back week 4 or week 5. So hopefully everything is okay. And he'll be out there sooner rather than later. Week 3, they do match up against the Falcons. That would be a juicy matchup for him to return. But I could see the Chiefs waiting, as week 4, they do play the Chargers, and maybe they could just gear him up for a divisional opponent instead. But either way, expect him to, be back early in the season and probably be fine, probably be fine. Just he's got to heal up a little bit here and everything. So Marquise Brown out 4 to 6 weeks, on track to return on a good day, week 2. On a worst case, I would say week 4 against the Chargers, but they do have a week 6 bye. But I think that's a little too much. I don't think they would wait that long if they really want to. I think if they do that, that'd be kind of ridiculous. But so look for week 4 Chargers, worst case, week 2 best case for his return. So that's all the short news I have for you guys. A little injury update. So now it is time for the Brandon Aiyuk situation. It seems now at 10:16 a.m. Eastern time that there are still no further updates on the Brandon Aiyuk situation. We still don't know what team he's going to be on, but we have had some major updates yesterday pertaining to this situation. Ian Rappaport came out and said that the Pittsburgh Steelers and San Francisco 49ers have agreed upon parameters for a trade that would send Aiyuk to Pittsburgh. But Aiyuk has a long-term contract offer from the 49ers, who have actively tried to keep him if he wants to stay in San Francisco. So far, Aiyuk hasn't accepted San Francisco's latest offer. The terms of a potential trade are not yet known. Rappaport reported that the Steelers are in a good place with a contract extension for Aiyuk should the trade go down. So basically, what's happening here is the 49ers and Steelers have kind of come to a soft agreement for a trade package to send Brandon Aiyuk, and the Steelers have negotiated with Brandon Aiyuk a contract that they would then sign if the trade goes through. But the 49ers are hesitant to accept this offer as they still want Brandon Aiyuk. That's the deal here. They want Brandon Aiyuk, as we've been saying all offseason, right? It makes no sense to move on from Brandon Aiyuk this season. Next year, sure. Or just move on from Deebo Samuel next year, right? But you're in a Super Bowl window. You need Brandon Aiyuk for this season. You just do. And that's why I've been very hesitant in believing any of these rumors, trying to read into this, right? Like it's bullshit at the end of the day. We're getting report after report after report, and it means nothing, right? We had just a couple days ago, Brandon Aiyuk's agent is at Raiders camp, look for the Devontae Adams trade. No, dude, just let's wait for something to actually happen before we get out over our skis when it comes to Brandon Aiyuk, okay? And it still seems, even with this update, saying that there's a trade package in place for Pittsburgh Steelers, it still seems the quiet part is that Brandon Aiyuk is staying in San Francisco. They want him there. The reason they haven't accepted the trade is they want Brandon Aiyuk on the team, okay? That's why this hasn't happened. And I wouldn't be surprised if Brandon Aiyuk wants to be a 49er and is just using all of this as negotiation. It's ridiculous, okay? So that's where we're at. There's a deal in place. Just in case, right? That's the deal. Maybe he's going to the Steelers, or maybe he's just staying with the 49ers since that still just makes the most sense, okay? Niners Pride tweets out, Brandon Aiyuk would prefer to stay on the 49ers and is hoping to clear a final hurdle in negotiations before a deal is signed per Mike Garofalo. There is the trade in place, but Aiyuk is holding up the deal in hopes of reaching an agreement with the 49ers. Okay, so now Mike Garofalo is reporting that not only the 49ers want Brandon Aiyuk there, but Brandon Aiyuk wants to be in San Francisco too, and it's just the money holding him back. Okay, again, he's going to be a 49er. Mike Garofalo, his own tweet from the insiders on NFL Network, the 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk aren't that far apart on a deal, which is why they haven't pulled the trigger on a trade to the Steelers, and Aiyuk is still hoping they can clear one final hurdle in the negotiations. Okay. Again, just wants to get over one final hurdle in the negotiations. Maybe it's a trade clause. Maybe it's guaranteed money. Maybe it's bonuses. Who knows? But there's something holding this back. As we know, we do know that the 49ers offered a decent contract. It was about $28 million, and Brandon Aiyuk wants $30. So they were already really, really close. So again, we're going to have an answer to this at one day, and it's probably still going to be the 49ers. But then Antonio Brown tweets out, so that's why I'm quoting this, Antonio Brown, so you have to decide if you actually believe this or not. But Antonio Brown says the opposite of what Mike Garofalo and Rappaport are reporting, and says that Brandon Aiyuk wants to be a Steeler and will not accept any offer from the 49ers. So more bullshit just thrown into the mix. Like, what is this? Can we chill for a second and just let this play out? And then Jerry Rice posts to Instagram last night, I guess we'll all find out tomorrow. Will he stay or leave? Tags Brandon Aiyuk, posts a picture of Brandon Aiyuk. So I'm going to trust Jerry Rice here. I think we're going to find out today what happens, to be honest. I'm going to take Jerry Rice for his word. I don't think Jerry Rice has any reason to lie. Jerry Rice doesn't give any information either. He just says we'll find out today. So hopefully we do. I'm gonna take Jerry Rice at his word there. Hopefully we find out today. But Brandon Aiyuk, I think, again, is still going to be a 49er. It makes way too much sense for them to keep him this year and move on next year. I see a lot of people in the chat saying that Ricky Pearsall is there for a reason, and that's true. Ricky Pearsall is there to take over for Brandon Aiyuk or Deebo Samuel next year. Ricky Pearsall is a project. Ricky Pearsall is not that good of a wide receiver. I hate to break it to you. I was there at the Senior Bowl. I watched him in comparison to his peers. He was like 6th, 7th, maybe 8th best wide receiver there. Like, he was good, but he's not an NFL caliber wide receiver yet, plain and simple. And that's why he's sitting behind Deebo Samuel, Brandon Aiyuk, right? That's why they also drafted Jacob Cowing. It's going to have to be a sum of parts to make up for the loss of Brandon Aiyuk or Deebo Samuel. But the contract situation for Deebo Samuel, it's pretty easy to move on from him next year in a deal similar to what the Bills got for Stephon Diggs. Or Brandon Aiyuk is still under contract technically for the 49ers. Like, they own him right now under his rookie contract under the 5th-year deal. It's just not the money that Brandon Aiyuk wants. But still, no matter what, they could just get Brandon Aiyuk for this 1-year deal. They could rent him. I will point out, guys. I'm going to get the actual number. But I believe the San Francisco 49ers have over $40 million in cap space right now. $52 million in cap space the 49ers have. And you're telling me they can't figure this out? The 49ers are figuring this out, guys. Seriously. This is what happens every year. Bosa last year. Deebo 2 years ago, right? Like, what are we doing? Like, why do we always have to go through this song and dance of here's a report, here's a report, here's a report, here's a report? Here's a report. Who do you believe? Oh, I'm gonna go sell George Pickens. I'm gonna trade for Brandon Aiyuk because I like his new landing spot. Or you could just be fucking patient and let this damn thing play out. Because as it plays out, Brandon Aiyuk's just gonna be a 49er and nothing is changing. It's exhausting as a fantasy manager to try to keep up with it. And that's why I've been saying step for step for step for step, if I'm making a move for this, it is selling Brandon Aiyuk because he's valued very highly. And there's so many wide receivers to where you could just rid yourself of the headache. You know, sure, you might lose some production, but you could also gain some production. You can take Brandon Aiyuk and think about this. You could get Deebo Samuel plus if you want to stay in the San Francisco 49ers offense. You could take Brandon Aiyuk and get a nice running back. You could take Brandon Aiyuk and get a nice quarterback. You could take Brandon Aiyuk and trade him for Jamison Williams and a first for all I care and shoot for the moon. Right? Like, it doesn't matter. You can get so much value for Brandon Aiyuk. He's like a top 15 wide receiver in Dynasty, has an ADP of wide receiver 12 right now. Like, come on. They're going to figure out a deal for Brandon Aiyuk. If it's just one season, maybe, right? But they're in a Super Bowl window. They can't win a Super Bowl without Brandon Aiyuk. And I don't even think Brandon Aiyuk is that good of a player. I think he's really, I think he's good, right? Like, I think he's really, really good. But I don't think he's like, anyway, I'm getting too far ahead of myself. They need him, right? They need him. You can't replace Brandon Aiyuk in a season. You're not winning a Super Bowl without him. They want the whole team together at least one more season because, as this chat points out, they do have to prepare to pay Williamson and Purdy sooner rather than later. So, Brandon Aiyuk, don't panic. Let it happen. There's just no point. There's just no point. I will say someone in this show, in the chat, did say that they panic sold George Pickens. I'm not against selling George Pickens, and I love George Pickens. I really do. I think his value is about his ceiling, regardless of if Brandon Aiyuk goes there or not. Just because, Russell Wilson, he's washed, and Justin Fields, I like him for fantasy points, but it's not like he's going to be a very, very good quarterback for his wide receiver. Plus, we're talking about Arthur Smith as well. What wide receiver has done well under Arthur Smith? None of them. So, I'm fine selling George Pickens at his current value, regardless of the situation. I will be honest with you. I'm being told I'm underrating Aiyuk. Incredible wide receiver. But I do think that the jury is still out on a lot of his production and efficiency coming from the San Francisco 49ers scheme, right? Like, there's Deebo Samuel they have to worry about. Christian McCaffrey teams have to worry about. George Kittle teams have to worry about. And Brock Purdy just knows how to deliver the ball. Kyle Shanahan knows how to scheme players open. I think it's just, it's like Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in New England, right? It just works together, right? Like, I don't think Brandon Aiyuk, right? If Brandon Aiyuk goes to the Steelers, I don't think he takes barely 100 targets for 1,300 receiving yards, right? Like, there's just no way. He did that because he's in San Francisco, that he was able to be that efficient, right? Because it's a good, well-designed offense. Only 75 receptions. I'll get you the exact thing here. He had the 30th most targets, the 24th most receptions, but the 7th most receiving yards. That's incredible production, right? That's incredible. Really, really good player to be able to do that, right? But I think the argument that this is a lot of the San Francisco 49ers offense is very, very true. And we'll see. I think no matter what, right, he's still probably a 1,000-yard receiver, but I think he would need more volume to get there than what he gets in San Francisco. That's at least my take on the situation. Boxes check AJ Brown under Arthur Smith. Wasn't it just like 1,000 yards? That's what I'm saying. What I mean by not a good receiver under Arthur's. Yeah, he had 2,000-yard seasons with him. Now, he did have the, okay. 2020, he did average the 6th most fantasy points per game because he had 11 touchdowns. So I'll give it to him there. But, still, he's not, winning you your league at cost, right? Like George Pickens is still, a top 30 wide receiver. He's very expensive to acquire. And it is more than likely that he'll have about 1,000 yards, 900, and, 6 touchdowns, which is fine. Don't get me wrong. That's fine. But it's just not great. We want great players, guys. We want great players. We don't want good. We want great. I agree. I agree here, Rhonda. He is a complete receiver and a great blocker. Is he the 12th best wide receiver in the NFL? No, he's not. He's just not. So anyway, that is the deal, guys. I think I answered every question, but just in case. Top 7. Top 7. That's very high. Top 7 wide receiver, very high. Little behind in the video, but I had the trim as well. Meniscus is what pads between your knee bones, and having less tissue there means more long-term chance of a long-term issue, but we're talking 10 plus years down the line, and we are not really concerned about in the near future. So that's good to hear. I like all these people that have had this meniscus surgery. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to hear that. Get some extra insight, everyone. So thank you for that. All of you that have had the surgery. Thank you for your insight. And that should do it. This is a good take. Brandon Aiyuk is why Jamar and CD don't have deals. This is true. Imagine this. If Brandon Aiyuk gets $30 million, the Justin Jefferson deal looks like a steal, right? And then CD Lamb and Jamar are going to get paid. So that's a good take right there. It just all goes together, right? All these wide receivers probably have a group chat. In fact, I guarantee there is a group chat with like the top 10 wide receivers, and then like there's some like committee to decide if Brandon Aiyuk can make it in or something or not. Maybe if he gets the money, they'll let him in. But I guarantee there's a private group chat going on with these guys. They're talking, they're strategizing. You know, you got to have each other's back in this world. But that is everything I have for you guys. The Brandon Aiyuk situation, the JJ McCarthy situation. Don't panic on JJ McCarthy. Don't even think about Brandon Aiyuk. Just let it happen. Like, why do we? Life is stressful enough, guys. Life is so hard. Life is so stressful. Why add any more stress to your day by worrying about what uniform Brandon Aiyuk is going to be wearing? It doesn't matter. He's still going to score you fantasy points, right? It's Brandon Aiyuk we're talking about. Don't worry about it. Don't try to get ahead of it. Don't try to get behind it. Just wait and see what happens. If anything, sell Brandon Aiyuk for another wide receiver just to clear yourself of the headache, right? It's about fun at the end of the day, all right? So thank you guys again. Thank you so much for tuning in. You all have a wonderful Wednesday, a fantastic rest of your week. Tune in to Mind a Mansion at 12 o'clock. And tune in tomorrow for some more Wake and Take at 10 a.m. Eastern with Maddie Kiwoom. Have a good one. Peace.
Hey, you're in your fantasy draft and someone says, hey, from the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to PlayerProfiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, Data Analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.